إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. Amma ba'd. Dear brothers and sisters, the lectures today is entitled The Fairy Tales of Ahmad Raza Khan Brelwi and the Contradictions of the Brelvis. Inshallah, in these lectures we're going to see what powers the Ahmad Raza Khan and his people attribute to Abdul Qadir Jilani, and some of them are extremely shocking and some of them even hilarious. Stories people would never imagine a human being could invent these stories, but inshallah we're going to expose them today. And as well we're going to show the contradictions, because at the same time they attribute this power, a total knowledge of the unseen, to Abdul Qadir Jilani, and at the same time in their own tafsir and in his own fatwa rizviya, Ahmad Raza Khan is going to say Umar radiallahu anhu made ijtihad and made two mistakes in giving fatwa, and he made ruju in one of them. So at the same time they attribute total knowledge of the unseen to the awliya, that nothing in the heaven and the earth is hidden to them. And at the same time they watch Lawh Mahfuz constantly, meaning they know the future, the past, the present. And at the same time they attribute mistakes to Sahaba. So it shows that it is a human-made religion, Brelwi, and it does not come from Allah. It's a human-made religion, and that is why it contains so many contradictions. And at the same time, we're going to see as well, inshallah, have Tafsir Nur al-Irfan of the Mufti Ahmad Yar Gujarati, and Tafsir Khazain al-Irfan of Naimuddin Muradabadi, who was one of the most senior students of Ahmad Raza Khan, in which they said the Prophet Nuh didn't know this matter, Prophet Sulaiman Prophet Dawood made ijtihad concerning a dispute and he made a mistake, and that Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam did not know that the guests that came to him were angels, he did not recognize them. So at the same time, the main students of Ahmad Raza Khan say the prophets did not know these matters. Musa alayhi salam did not know the secrets behind the actions of Al-Khidr. And at the same time, Ahmad Raza Khan in his own book say Abdul Qadir Jilani knows everything. You see, nothing is hidden to him. So they have to explain, for the blind followers of the Brelvis, they have to ask to themselves these questions, you see. Obviously, some of them just follow the elders and the blind following, and they don't know these contradictions. But others, they know this contradiction, they read these books, but because the elders are in this business of getting money, you see, they're telling people to sacrifice on grave, give money to their peers. So it has become a big business, and for some of them it has become a way to gain fame in the community. So our aim is to expose these Brelvi scholars and leaders, and obviously for the layman who have no clue, who just think that these people are Sunnis and they love the Prophet ﷺ, we're going to expose to them, and inshallah we make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He guides them, and they have to inshallah do this reasoning. We're going to just show these fairy tales and how much contradiction the Brelvi religion has. So first of all, I'm going to quote, I have here some volumes of Fatwa Rizviya of Ahmad Raza Khan, which is published by Raza Foundation in Lahore. And I would like to thank Brother Abu Khuzaima Ansari from Birmingham Ahlul Hadith WordPress, because I borrowed this book from him, mashallah. May Allah reward him for his continuous efforts against the Sufis and the grave worshippers, and to propagate the manhaj of Ahlul Hadith. May Allah give him tawfiq to do more. So first I'd like to thank Brother Abu Khuzaima Ansari. But secondly, the volume of Fatwa Rizviya he gave me, there were 26 volumes. But some other editions of Fatwa Rizviya have 30 volumes, meaning they have added at the end some other Rasail of Ahmad Raza Khan, and they published them in 30 volumes at the end of his fatwa. So online I've downloaded the 28 volume, which is and I've printed these pages. Inshallah, I'm going to give a link below the lecture to the 28 volume, which I don't have in my hand, but people can download it and check the veracity of it, inshallah. I'm going to give as well all the scans quoted in this book below the lecture as well, so people can not say Ahlul Hadith attribute to Ahmad Raza Khan sayings he did not say. So we only, inshallah, try to quote only what we have in our hands. So to establish whoever wants to perish, then he perishes based upon knowledge. You see, he could not say nobody warned us, and we never had people telling us contrary. So first of all, I mean, we're going to start with the fairy tales of Ahmad Raza Khan being present on the night of Mi'raj, and the Prophet ﷺ climbing on the Buraq, on the shoulder of Ahmad Raza Khan, and some even claim when he went to Prophet ﷺ on the Arsh as well, he climbed on the shoulder of Abdul Al-Jilani, who, I mean, 500-600 years before even coming into this world, his soul appeared this, and this is a totally ridiculous fairy tale. So in his volume 28 of Fatwa Rizwiya, in the Risala Fatwa Ghosya, he says on page 406, Ahmad Raza Khan, because he was asked about this story, is this story true, and why it is not mentioned in the Hadith Sharif. I mean, obviously, the Prophet ﷺ, if such event happened, obviously he would tell his companions that on the night of Mi'raj, Abdul Al-Jilani was there, and he's a great wali that will appear in my ummah in the 5th century. But obviously the Prophet ﷺ, he told whatever he saw, and he did not tell this event. So people, they ask Ahmad Raza Khan, I mean, some of them still have some reason that why it's not mentioned in Hadith and this. And Ahmad Raza Khan basically answered that such stories that are mentioned in the books of the Sufi Mashaykh, you see, even if they're not in Hadith, they're enough, I mean, because so many of the Sufis quoted them, so it's good, and these are for them good Sufis, so it's good enough to believe in them, and we don't need to, I mean, if they don't come in Hadith, that's not an excuse to reject such stories. So then he quoted, on page 406, he said, quoted from the Fadil Abdul Qadir Qadri ibn Shaykh Muhyiddin Irbili, quoted in his book Tafri al-Khatir fi Manaqib Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani. So he mentioned all the story on the Mi'raj, what happened. The Prophet went there, the Buraq came, and the Buraq spoke to the Prophet Jibreel and all others. And after this dialogue, I mean, the Al-Buraq expressed his feeling that he did not want to have anyone other climbing on him except the Prophet up to Judgment Day. And the Prophet said, oh, this will happen. And then he asked the Prophet to touch him, so have a mark on him to testify this. And when the Prophet touched the neck of Al-Buraq, then they claim that the soul of Abdul Qadir Jilani appeared. You see, فَذَرَةُ رُوء الْغَوْثَ الْأَعْزَمِ رضي الله عنه تعالى وقال يا سيدي دع قدمك على رقبتي واركب فوضع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قدمه على ركبته وركب فقال قدمي على ركبتك وقدمك على ركبة كل أولياء الله تعالى. So basically he said that when the Prophet touched Al-Buraq, I'm going to read it in Urdu. Sayyid Ghaus Azam radiyallahu ta'ala ki ruh mutahhar hazir hokar arz ki, meaning the soul of they call him Ghaus, but for us Ghaus is only Allah. Abdul Qadir Jilani appeared, and he said, Mere Aqa, Ya Sayyidi, put your feet, apna qadam pak meri gardan par rakhkar sawar hoye. Put your feet on my neck and then climb on it. You see, तो सैयद आलम सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने हुजूर गौस आजम रज़ियल्लाहु अन्हु की गर्दन मुबारक पर कदम अक़दस रख कर सवार हुए. So then the Prophet climbed on the Buraq, putting his feet on the neck of Abdul Qadir Jilani. और फरमाया मेरी कदम तेरी गर्दन पर है और तेरा कदम तमाम औलिया की गर्दनों पर है. And then the Prophet said, my foot is on your neck and your foot, you see, is on the neck of all the awliya, meaning all the awliya on this earth, your foot is going to be on their neck, meaning you will be superior to all the awliya of this earth. And so this is totally a fairy tale, a khurafat, a fable, a myth, whatever. It shows that these people, they have based their religion on conjectures, fairy tales, on dhunun, that tell stories that none of the Sahaba Salaf quoted in the tafsir. They just have a scholar in the late century just mentioning it. I mean, what is strange is Abdul Qadir Jilani, if this happened to him, I mean, he would mention him in one of his books, Khunya Talibin, and many others of his book, Futuh al-Ghaib. But someone who has the great virtue of meeting the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet ﷺ climbing on Al-Buraq, putting his foot on his shoulder, he wouldn't tell it in any of his book. We need another scholar coming long after him telling these stories. You see, this shows that, you see, I mean, it's impossible. I mean, if this happened to Wali, he would have written in his own book. But because of the Qadir Jilani and all the next stories, they're going to be mentioned by late scholars coming 100, 200, 300 years. Like most of the karamat attributed to Abdul Qadir Jilani, they're mentioned hundreds of years after. And they're totally ridiculous. And what is the most ridiculous is the scholars next to them or at the same century, they did not mention them. It appears centuries after them. You see, like the followers of Rifa'i, they say that when he went to Medina, the Prophet, he asked for the Prophet to put his hand outside the grave, and the Prophet extended his hand outside the grave, and Rifa'i kissed the Prophet's hand. And the Qadiris, they say Abdul Qadir Jilani as well. When he went to Medina as well, he said the same, and the Prophet took his hand outside. But Sheikh Abdurrahman Dimashqiya, in his book Rifaya, he said the scholars who gathered stories of saints, you see, like Subki ibn Mulaqin, in the next centuries after Rifai, they never mentioned these stories. It's long after. You see, it doesn't make any sense if that many people witnessed the Prophet's hand coming out, and none of the first Sufi who gathered the Tazkirah of the Sufis, it would miss them only to come centuries after. But it shows, I mean, these people, they've totally lost their intelligences. So this is why the Qadiris now, the Ahmad Raza Khan and the others, they claim that because of this story, this fairy tale, Ahmad Raza Khan is superior to all the other awliya. He's superior to Abu Yazid Bastami, Junaid, Maruf Qarhi. He's superior to all others. You see, all other, the Shukh, Bahadir Naqshband, Ali Hajveri, Muhinuddin Chishti, all the Sufi up to Judgment Day. But they say, from Imam Hasan Askari to Imam Mahdi, all the awliya in between, Abdul Qadir Jilani is superior to them. And he's a big type of horse, and the others are small types of horse, you see. So he's got his strange belief with no text, no hadith of the Prophet, no saying of the Salaf, but it's a man-made, fabricated religion that they have invented. And then in the book of Bahjatul Asrar, they have many stories of Abdul Qadir Jilani announcing to people that his foot is on the neck of all the awliya, and the awliya appearing, I mean, some stories, all of the awliya that are alive and who have died before, they all gather in front of Abdul Qadir Jilani, making a tunnel up to the sky, and they all say, yes, we agree, and they all put their head down in front of Abdul Qadir Jilani. So this is one story in Bahjatul Asrar. In other stories, they said they were in their own cities and they heard Abdul Qadir Jilani's voice. Abu Madian was in his city, Rifai was in his city, and he heard this order of Abdul Qadir Jilani that my foot is on the neck of all the awliya, and they all raised their head down. So, I mean, they're telling stories, and it's different version. I mean, it's like the Christians. One Bible says this, the other from Matthew says this, the John says this, and both of them, they're not compatible. But these people, the same as Christians, they don't even bother. In the fabricated religion, they even bother the narration and the story are contradictory. Likewise, they have other stories about when the Prophet was, it didn't happen at the Buraq, but it happened at the Arsh. You see, so, and it's totally ridiculous. And Ahmad Raza Khan tried to justify this, or there's nothing shocking in it. And he quoted other stories of Sufis, like that the story of, in some Sufi have mentioned that Abu Hamid Ghazali was present as well on the night of Mi'raj. And they say when the Prophet met Musa alayhi salam, and Musa alayhi salam asked him, because they have a fabricated hadith that the Anbiya of the awliya of the Prophet's community are like prophets of Banu Israel, you see. Or that the Prophet said, awliya matika Anbiya Bani Israel. It's a fabricated hadith, it's quoted in no book, it says no, it's not. But Ahmad Raza Khan quoted it quoting from a Sufi book. And he said that when Musa asked him about this hadith, how can the scholars of your community be like prophets of Bani Israel? And the Prophet made the soul of Abu Hamid Ghazali to appear. And then Musa said Assalamu alaikum to him. And Abu Hamid Ghazali answered to him saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And he said, what a long answer, Musa alayhi salam. Na'udhu he said, in this fabricated story, but he didn't say in reality. He said, what a long answer. I just said, Salamun alaikum, and you answered with a long answer, reply. And he said, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked you what you have in your hand on montur, you didn't just say, I have a stick, but you said, I have a stick, I use it for this, for that purpose. You also gave a long answer to Allah. And the Prophet became angry and said, be respectful of Musa alayhi salam. So even in the fake story, which equates saints to prophets, so these people opened the door to Mirza Qadiani, they believe in fiqh hadith, and it also contains a degradation of prophet. They say the Wahhabi, the Ahlul Hadith, Ghair Muqallidin, that's how they call us. These people are Gustaghi Rasul, they are revilers of prophets. We say you are revilers of prophet, and inshallah in other lectures we will show all the insult contained in the book Fusus al-Hikam and in other books, Fawaid Faridia, Divan Muhammadiyya against prophets, how they degrade prophets. Such horrible stories, inshallah, but this needs another lecture, how Ibn Arabi mocked and ridiculed the prophets. But this, even Ahmad Raza Khan quoted it, this story in his Karamat Fatwa Rizviya, that Abu Hamid Ghazali was present there. So in their own stories, Al-Ghazali is being disrespectful to prophets, and they quote this without any shame. Would any of us even... think being in front of Prophet and he asks us why you gave us a long answer, would we even dare to say, oh, but you said to Allah, so we can say to you? Would even a Muslim who loves the messengers who are the best of the creation Allah chose to give his message, speak to them like this? But these people, they have no shame, they have nothing. You see, they're just big businessmen making millions from the muridin, and they invent stories, fairy tales, and the fairy tales contradict, and then they invent other lies to explain them, and then it's full of contradictions. It's like the house of the spider, you see, it's weaker than the house of the spider, their stories. But for them, you see, because they're people who believe in these stories, so then they have lots of stories. You see, because the Brelwis, they want to propagate the Qadiri tariqah. They want to propagate that don't become Naqshbandi Chishti, because mostly it's Deobandis. They're not going to say directly, but they want to say Abdul Jilani was superior, and the Deobandi, mainly the Chishtis and Naqshbandis. So obviously there's rivalry between the Sufi tariqah. They all claim they Shuyukh Nur al-Ghaib, but all of them say this one is superior, they say no, this one is superior. So you see, even in themselves, there must be liars, in these storytellers, you see. But these people, they do not have the knowledge to try to contradict, explain the contradiction. They say, that they are saints as well, but what they say, they don't acknowledge Abdul Jilani being superior. But in your books of the Qadiris, you have these stories. You see, so either you're telling the truth or they're telling the truth. You see, it cannot both be possible, you see. That they say, oh no, Muhammad Wafa says he's the seal of the saints. Tijani says he's the seal of the saints, and other claim no, he's Ibn Arabi is the seal of the saints, and they say no, Abdul Jilani is the greatest of saints. So they have to explain between themselves who is the greatest saints. We leave them to their fabricated lies, and we just expose them. So then in the book Bahjatul Asrar of Shadnufi, he mentions many saying, he also came some, long time, not long, but maybe some time after Abdul Jilani, and he has a book Bahjatul Asrar containing all the so-called karamat and miracles of Abdul Jilani, al-Shatnufi. And he mentions many of these stories in which the other saints in the part of the world, they accepted Abdul Jilani being superior to others the day he announced that my foot is on the neck of the awliya. So we're just going to quote a few of them. And Abdul Jilani, none of his books, which are published even by the Sufis in Urdu, English and others, he claims such in Fathul Rabbani, in Ghuniyatul Talibin, or in the other of his book Futul Ghab, who are well known. So they attribute this to him. Al-ins lahum mashayikh, wal-jin lahum mashayikh, wal-malaika lahum mashayikh, wa ana shaykh al-kull, wa la tuqaysu bi ahadin, wa la tuqaysu ala ahadin. You see, so they mentioned this, that Abdul Qadir Jilani said, आदमियों के लिए के लिए शेख हैं, जिन्नों के लिए शेख हैं और मैं फरिश्तों के लिए शेख हैं. Meaning the humans have sheikh, the jinns have sheikh and the angels have sheikh. और मैं उन सब का शेख हूँ and I am the sheikh of all of them. Meaning I am the sheikh of the humans, I am the sheikh of the jinns and I am the sheikh of the angels. मुझे किसी पर कियास ना करो. Meaning do not compare any other wali to me. Meaning none of them is similar to me. I am their sheikh. You see. And then they have other story that even Qadir alayhi salam acknowledged that Abdul Qadir Jilani, I mean the Sufis and Abdul, and they're meeting Al-Qadir and Qadir telling them stuff. I mean all of their books, Qadir tell them different stories and they all describe Qadir in a different physical shape. I mean, I don't know if for them Qadir is a shapeshifter or whatever he is, but I mean, these are they're all using the fairy tales, seeing and meeting Al-Qadir. So in the book of Bahjatul Asrar, they also say, Ma wasalat waliyan ila maqami illa wa kana Shaykh Abdul Qadir a'lahu. You see, there's no saint that Allah has sent except that Abdul Qadir Jilani is superior to him. And there will be no saint in the future except that he will be respectful towards Abdul Qadir Jilani. You see, ila yawm al-qiyamah. So this is another fairy tale of the book Bahjatul Asrar of Shatnufi. So these are more fairy tales. So more fairy tales in the book, volume 28. I mean, these fairy tales, they're not in the Risala of Fatawa Karamat Ghosiyah, but they're in the chapter Manaqib wa Fadal, which is just before it, in the volume 28. So likewise on page 372, you see they have a story of, they have long isnad. They say Abdul Qadir Jili, I mean, Jilani Jili, I mean, we can say those. He said to people, La yatlub kullu minkum hajatan a'taytuha lahu. All of you ask me, you need and I will fulfill it. And they all mentioned their needs. فَذَكَرُوا حَوَائِجَهُم. They mentioned their needs. وقال شيخ خليل بن سرسري أريد أن لا أموت حتى أنال مقام قطبية. I do not want to die until I reach the level of Qutb. فقال الشيخ عبد القادر رضي الله تعالى عنه. You see, kullu, it's not printed very well, but I mean the translation is, I mean all of your desires will be granted. وَمَا كَانَ عَطَاءُ رَبِّكَ كَانَ مَحْذُورًا. You see, none of the sayings of your Lord will be refused. So he said all of your grants will be, all of these are granted by your lords, and all your lords, the grants of your Lord will be fulfilled. You see. قال فوالله لقد نالوا كلهم ما طلبوا. All of them reached what they have asked. So another story, you see, like Abdul Qadir Jilani in the same book, Bahjatul Asrar, you see, fulfilling the needs of the people. Now they have another story in Bahjatul Asrar. Sheikh Ahmad Rifa'i, he was in his house in you see, and he put his neck down. فَمَدَّ عُنُقَهُ. You see, he put his neck down. And he said, فَقَالَ عَلَى الرُّقْبَةِ. He said, yes, on my neck. And the people around him, they asked him, فَسَلْنَاهُ عَنْ ذَلِكَ. And the people, his students, asked him about this. فَقَالَ فَقَالَ Shaykh Abdul Qadir al-an bi Baghdad. He said, Shaykh Abdul Qadir in Baghdad, Jilani, he said, now, at this time, he said, قَدَمِ هَذِهِ عَلَى رُقْبَةِ كُلُّ وَلِيِّ اللَّهِ. My foot is upon the neck of all the awliya Allah. So they're saying, Al-Rifai, he was in his circle teaching, you see, in his own city, and when he heard this saying of Abdul Qadir Jilani in Baghdad, he put his neck down. His student asked him, why are you doing this? He said, because I said, I'm just hearing now Abdul Qadir Jilani saying this. So in this story, you see, it's the awliya, all the awliya present at that time hearing this and accepting this. In another story after, in the same book, Bahjatul Asrar, you see, it is said, जब हज़रत गौस अब्दुल क़ादिर फरमा कि मेरा पाँव हर वली की गर्दन पर है, उस वक्त अल्लाह ने उनके कल्ब मुबारक पर तजल्ली फरमा हुज़ूर सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने एक ग्रुप मलाइका मुक़र्रबीन के हाथ के लिए खलत भेजी, meaning the Prophet ﷺ sent mantle through angels, close angel of Allah to Abdul Qadir Jilani had a mantle sent by the Prophet ﷺ, और तमाम औलिया अव्वलिन व आखिरीन का मजमा हुआ, meaning all the awliya of before and of that time, they all gathered. जो जिंदा थे वो बदन के साथ हाजिर हुए. All those who were alive, they came physically, meaning Abu Madian, he was in Morocco or in Spain, he came from there. The others, they came from the city. और जो इंतकाल फरमा गए थे उनके अरवा तैयबा आए, meaning and those who had died before, like Abu Yazid Bastami, for them and others, Junaid al-Baghdadi, they came. In सब के सामने वो खुलवत हज़रत गौस को पनाई गई, meaning in all of them, in front of them, Abdul Qadir Jilani was given this mantle, you see. And what is strange is the others saints, they do not mention this in their book. So I mean, I don't know, maybe they forgot to tell this miracle, or you see, maybe they were I mean, this is ridiculous. They say all the angels were here. Malaika Rijalul Ghaib, the men of the hidden, these are the fairy tales of Fatwa, Ghos, Qub Abdal, for them, these people that ruled the world. का उस वक्त हुजूम हुआ था, तमाम उफुक में, you see the men make a tunnel up to the sky, and they all accepted this, basically, that he was, you see, وَلَمْ يَبْقَ وَلِيٌّ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِلَّا حَنَا عُنُقَهُ. There was no wali on the earth except that he put his neck down to Abdul Qadir Jilani. I mean, totally ridiculous. I mean, how can people explain this contradiction that the other saints alive at that time, Abu Madian, they claim to be saints. They did not mention this in their stories. Abdul Qadir Jilani, he did not mention in any of his book that I received this mantle and we had this gathering of all the awliya. But centuries after, Al-Shatnufi mentioned these fairy tales in his book, Bahjatul Asrar, and they believe it, like you see, like it's their religion to believe in such fairy tales. So this is for the fairy tale of Abdul Qadir Jilani being on the night of Mi'raj, and all the saints putting the head down to Abdul Qadir Jilani and accepting this. Now we have another one. Someone asked him in the Risala Fatwa Karamat Ghawthiyah. Someone asked Ahmad Raza Khan, is it true that Abdul Qadir Jilani was breastfed by Aisha radiallahu anhu, the wife of the Prophet, the mother of the believers? Is that true? That Abdul Qadir, I mean, is even a revilement of the mother of the believers? You see, it is written, Sual number 2, second question. Hazrat Mu'mina Mahbuba Sayyid al-Mursalin sallallahu alayhi wa sallam ki ruh aqdar Sayyidina Ghaus Azam radiallahu anhu ko doodh pilana baad Madahi Nazur ne is waqi ख्वाब में बयान करते हैं. This is the answer people asked him, and Ahmad Raza Khan said that Abdul Qadir Jilani drinking when he was a baby from the being breastfed by Aisha, na'udhu billah, meaning the soul of Aisha breastfeeding the soul of Abdul Qadir Jilani. You see, बाद मद्दाही नुज़ूल से इस वाक़े ख्वाब बयान करते हैं कमा रअयतु फ़ी बअद कुतुबिहिम अत-तस्रीह बिज़ालिका. You see, जैसे कि उनके बाद किताबों में इसकी तस्रीह है. It says some of the people who praise Abdul Qadir Jilani, they mentioned this story, but they mentioned it in a dream. You see, उस तकदीर पर तो असलन इस्तेबाद नहीं. But if we suppose this, that in a dream Abdul Qadir Jilani soul drank from Aisha, meaning in the world of dreams, he said there's nothing far from it being true. And he said all the people, और उस पे जो कुछ किया है सब बेजार महल है. He said all the people who object to this is ridiculous and it's I mean rubbish. अगर बेदारी में माना जाए, if we believe it happened really, you see, it happened not in a dream, but really that the soul of Abdul Qadir Jilani really appeared and Aisha really breastfed him, na'udhu billah, to bila shubha sharan jaiz hai. He said, this is by reason, it is possible, and in the religious law, there's nothing forbidding it. इसमें कोई इस्ताला नहीं है, इस्तेबाद नहीं है. Inna Allah ala kulli shayin qadir. बेशक Allah हर चीज पर कादर है. And then he said, even if Aisha, because she didn't have any children, radiallahu anha, so how can she produce milk? She said, no, that's something possible because it's coming, it's khariq al-adat, karamat, so even something against nature, it can be broken. So for these people, these are the fairy tales. You see, they don't even spare the wives of the prophets in the fairy tales. And some of the Brelwi books, they say, oh, this karamat, none of the other saints have, meaning that we have been sick enough to even invent this one, while the others one, when they invent karamat, they were not as sick as us. Meaning, but they say, oh, it's a particularity, because they all copy the karamat. You see, oh, he went on the Mi'raj, he went on the Mi'raj, all of them went on Mi'raj, and all of them did this, all of them did that. So they invented something, these Brelvis, they invented, in that they quoted from other Sufis, they've invented, you see, that there's so much, then they have to go above the other, in competition between the other tariqah, that our Sheikh is superior. He even drank, was breastfed by Aisha. Na'udhu billah, na'udhu billah. I mean, this is the fairy tales. So second fairy tale. Now for the third fairy tale, in volume 1 to volume 7 of Fatwa Rizviyah, page 633, Salat al-Ghawthiyah. Salat al-Ghawthiyah, what it is, someone asked, it is mentioned the Salat in Bahjatul Asrar, the same book of Al-Shatnufi, and people asked Ahmad Raza Khan that this is too big, this Salat Ghawthiyah. You pray 2 rakat, you walk 11 steps towards Baghdad, they call Baghdad Sharif, and then you ask you need, Ya Abdul Qadir Jilani, and you ask you need, you see, whatever you want to ask him, do me this, do me that, give me children, Ya Abdul Qadir Jilani, fulfill this need of me, and you walk, while walking this 11 steps towards Baghdad. People say, oh no, this story cannot be true, this is it's not mentioned in anything against the Sharia, Quran, Hadith, books of fiqh, this is not mentioned. How can we walk 11 steps towards the Baghdad? You see, walking towards, we should show humility to Allah. We shouldn't show humility in front of a grave of saints and walk towards them and ask needs like this. And they said maybe it has been added, maybe the book of Al-Shatnufi who mentions it, maybe it was corrupted, altered, meaning some people have changed the manuscripts of it, but this cannot be true. And he writes a big risala, Namaz ghusl ke mutalam nukat aur uske padne ka tarika. And he writes many pages trying to defend this. They say, no, there's no proof this book was not corrupted, this and that. People have checked different manuscripts. There's nothing changed. If we start adopting about books of saints, then no books will be left, and this and that. We must find manuscripts showing a proof of corruption. But what is funny is when people say that Abdul Qadir Jilani in his Ghunya Talibin said Allah was above his arsh, you see. And they say, oh, but this quote of Ghunya, it might have been altered, or the book Ghunya might not be true, it might be falsely. While you see the scholars coming just after, they all attributed this to this book and this quote to, like Imam Dhahabi and many other scholars, Ibn Kathir. And so for the course, they don't like from Ghunya Talibin, oh, this quote might have been inserted by some people in the book or this manuscript. But for this one, which totally goes against the Sharia, they say, no, we shouldn't reject the book ourselves without any proof. Which scholar said he found a manuscript different from another one, except we have a proof? We cannot, then we would be adopting all the books of scholars like this if we have. And he said, this scholar, you see, his only argument to justify the salat was Abdul Hakim Muhaddis Delvi, this one, that one scholar read it. He mentioned other scholars, and that's it. He didn't mention any proof from the Quran, Hadith about walking 11 steps, even something they could do analogy within the Sharia. You see, the Sahaba walked 11 steps towards the grave of the prophets from their own different cities, or any tabi'i, anything. You see, they only have this book, Bahjatul Asrar, coming in late centuries, and for them that's good enough. You see, and to justify this practice, you see, they say, oh no, Imam Dhahabi mentioned Al-Shatnufi, he didn't criticize him. Maybe Imam Dhahabi didn't read all of his Bahjatul Asrar and others. And even if he did read it and didn't criticize it, this does not constitute a Shari proof. Shari proof is Quran, Hadith, Ijma, and Qiyas. You see, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Ashura, verse 21, أَمْ لَهُمْ شُرَكَاءُ شَرَعُوا لَهُم مِّنَ الدِّينِ مَا لَمْ يَأْذَن بِهِ اللَّهُ. Or do they have partners with Allah who have instituted for them a religion which Allah has not allowed. You see, you are legislating a prayer, you see, on your own, which didn't exist. Even Abdul Qadir Jilani in his own book, you see, Ghunyat Talib in chapter of fiqh didn't tell this book, this is a fabricated prayer, mushrikana prayer, you see. But this prayer was never heard until the book of Shatnufi, Bahjatul Asra. And Ahmad Raza Khan said, no, there's nothing wrong in his book. Respecting saints, there's nothing wrong. Asking them for help, they can fulfill needs. There's nothing wrong in it. And he quoted all the false hadiths they use normally. You see. You see. So I'm going to read, just the text of it. Inshallah, I will show the scans anyway, but this is his Risala in which he tries to say, you see that you walk 11 steps towards Baghdad and you ask Abdul Qadir Jilani, and you should pray this prayer, you see. ثم يخطو إلى جهة العراق. This is the quote, you see. You see. ليقول 11 مرة يا رسول الله يا نبي الله أغثني وأمددني في القضاء حاجتي يا قاضي الحاجات. ثم يخطو إلى جهة العراق وهو من بلدنا من شمال المغرب. You see, then you see tell the story that you have to walk toward Iraq and you have to say this. You see, then he's making a map to which direction it is from Brelwi and how to do this 11 step and ask Abdul Qadir Jilani for help. You see, إذا عشرة خطوة معتدلة. You see, he should do them slowly. معتدة فإنه. You see, he shouldn't walk them for fastly. You see, they have made all this religion how to walk it. So this is the prayer, you see, that's how to pray, how to send salam after, and how to walk 11 steps towards Baghdad. You see. And you invoke Abdul Qadir Jilani and the Prophet Sallallahu Ya Ghisni, Ya Ghosa Ghisni, and you say, Ya Rasulullah Mdudni, Aghisni, save me. So this is their prayer. You see, Salat Ghathiyah, and this is pure shirk, you see. They have no excuse that Imam Shatnufi mentioned it, Abdul Haq Muhaddis Delvi, or others, you see. You see, so this is the story, and he defended this, and he said there's nothing wrong with these stories. It's a long risala. So this is the reality of the fairy tales, you see. These people, they have no shame in propagating such falsehood, and it's being sold by them and it's being practiced by them. They encourage people to pray this fabricated prayer. So now inshallah we'll carry on with the next karamat. In the Malfuz Sharif, which is translated into English published by Barakatul Raza publication in Durban, South Africa. On page 408, you see Malfuz Sharif of Ahmad Raza Khan. You see there's a story. Sayyidina Ahmad Zarruq said, if anyone experiences any difficulty, he should say, Ya Zarruq, and calls out at me, I will come to his assistance. Meaning, I will come to help him. And Ahmad Raza, this is the question. And Ahmad Raza Khan answered, yes, he did say this, but I have personally never sought such assistance. I always sought help from the great Ghaus Sayyidina Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani. I always called out, Ya Ghaus, because I'm Qadiri and very firm on my August Silsila, you see. So in this story, someone's asking him that Ahmad Zarruq said, if you say Ya Zarruq and calls me, I will come to help you. And he says, yes, this is true, but I always ask Abdul Qadir Jilani for help whenever I have a need, and he comes and rescues me. So this is one of the other fairy tale. You see, they're doing shirk with Allah, so setting partners to Allah, and they are attributing such powers. Now, in volume 21 of Fatawa Rizviya, we have other fairy tales. In volume 21, page 466, you see. It's in the same book, Bahjatul Asra, there's a story, you see. And they say that, you see, Shahabuddin Sarwardi, another saint of the Sufi, he would also respect Abdul Qadir Jilani. And he said, كيف لا أتأدب مع من صرفه مالكي في قلبي وحالي وقلوب الأولياء وأحوالهم إن شاء أمسك وإن شاء أرسلها. In order वो बहुत जैसे सोहवर्दी said, मैं क्योंकि अदब ना करूं जिनके मेरे मालिक जिनको मेरे मालिक ने दिल और मेरी हाल और तमाम औलिया के कुलूब अहवाल पर तसरफ बख्शा है, चाहे रोक दें चाहे छोड़ दें. Meaning, why would I not respect the one that my Malik, I mean my king, meaning Allah, has given him the control of my heart and the hearts of all the others. If he wants, he controls them. If he wants, you see, he leaves them. You see, basically, they're saying Abdul Qadir Jilani controls the hearts of the people. If he wants someone to be among his followers or to do this, he just controls their heart. If he wants to relieve them or hold them, it's up to him. While the Prophet ﷺ, he worked for his uncle Abu Talib, and Allah sent the verse, you do not guide whoever you wish, but Allah guides. But for these people, the awliya, he controls all the, Abdul Qadir Jilani controls all the hearts and has control over the hearts of all the saints. You see, but what he said, he has control over my heart, Abdul Qadir Jilani. You see, Na'udhu Billah. You see, then they have all the fairy tales. You see, of Abdul Qadir Jilani controlling the hearts of the people. So he can turn them however he wants. He's got total control of them. You see. You see, then they attribute this quote in the book Bahjatul Asra to Abdul Qadir Jilani. You see. In Urdu it is यानी कि तुम्हें मालूम नहीं है कि मैं लोगों के दिल मेरे हाथ में है. Don't you know that the hearts of the people are in my hand? You see. أما علمت أن قلوب الناس بيدي? You see, don't you know that the hearts of the people are in my hand? मैं चाहूँ तो अपनी तरफ से फेर दूँ और चाहूँ तो अपनी तरफ मुतवज्जे कर लूँ. You see. وإن شئت صرفتها عني وإن شئت أقبلتها بها. You see, إليّ. You see, so for them, Abdul Qadir Jilani has this control and authority. You see, which is also shirkiya belief. You see, the prophets, they invoke for their fathers or sons, but Allah said, you do. I mean, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one to guide, but for them, Abdul Qadir Jilani. And what was done this? You see, they say that even the murid of Abdul Qadir Jilani, they need not to be worried because Abdul Qadir Jilani is going to protect all his muridin. And this is why in Pakistan, in the corruption cases, we see many Sufi involved. You see the former Prime Minister Yusuf Raza Gilani, he was a Gadi Nashin followers. He was meaning in the line of Sufi. He also had followers who would come to him and walk back to him. They would not put their back towards him. Well, he was a corrupt politician, and all his stories of corruptions are well known. You see. And Amin Fahim, he's also Gadi Nashin, he goes to Ajmer, and he also has Murideen in thousands, and he was also involved in corruption cases. Yeah, Pakistani 6 crore in his bank account, and he said, oh, I don't know how they came out, you see, and then he gave them back. And then you had all these Sufis, because they believe that they're going to be protected by Abdul Qadir. You see, this is the source of Assad Brelwi's propagate. Just be a follower of us, don't give you money to peers just on the ground. We should give money to them, And don't worry, the Abdul Qadir Jilani, you, none of his followers will go to hellfire. And that's why we see them, some even them involved in Hamid Kazmi, who was Minister of Religious Affairs. They found lots of money, 80,000 pounds in his bank account, and he stayed many times in jail. He stole money from the Haji people, and he was the son of Ahmad Shah Kazmi, who was a student of Ahmad Raza Khan Brelwi. So the big ones, they're involved in such scams of stealing money, and this is because of their belief that Abdul Qadir Jilani controlled the universe and is protecting his followers so they can do whatever they want, you see. So it is written in the same volume 21 of Fatawa Rizvi on page 466, you see, the Abdul Qadir Jilani, and they attribute to the same book, Bahjatul Asrar. You see, they have only this book. I mean, all the other books of Abdul Qadir Jilani, they don't say this, but these books attribute these fairy tales and this control and these powers to Abdul Qadir. And people should think, why there's only one book mentioning this, but they don't have any. I mean, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides them. You see, they said Abdul Qadir Jilani, it's only quoted in Urdu. मेरा हाथ मेरे मुरीद पर ऐसे है जैसे ज़मीन पर आसमान. He said, my hand is on the murid the same way like the asman, meaning the sky, upon the earth, meaning it's on all sides. You see, there's no part of the earth that is not covered by the sky. So he said, my hand on the murid is like this. You see, I'm totally protecting them. You see, अगर मेरे मुरीद का पाँव फिसल जाएगा मैं हाथ से पकड़ लूँगा, meaning if the foot of my murid falls down, I will save him. You see, I mean, we can even not understand then why some of the murid they die or they're being killed. I mean, this is something, and I mean, obviously we condemn all the killings or the bombings of shrines, but at the same time they attribute powers to Ali Hajwari. He's protecting Lahore. I mean, I've even seen on TV programs they're saying, oh, Benazir Bhutto was killed because she wasn't in Lahore. She came, when she came to Karachi first, they had a bomb, but if she had come to Lahore, Ali Hajwari would have protected her. He said this on TV. But how can Ali Hajwari protect Benazir Bhutto while his mazar was destroyed? Many of his muridin in a bomb, and many of his muridin were killed. So he can even protect the people who visit his grave, you see. And obviously we condemn suicide bombings, and we say, like Sheikh Al-Bani in his book Tahzir Sajid, it should be the authority who should demolish graves, and it should not be the action of an individual, and we should not kill innocent people who are being fooled by these people. So this is their belief. At the same time, they believe Abdul Qadir Jilani will protect his followers, and at the same time they're being killed, but they don't have any, brain, you see. अगर मेरा मुरीद दिमाश्क में होगा और मैं मगरब में होऊंगा तो उसका पर्दा खोलने का दाम दूंगा. You see, if I am in the Mashriq, my student is in the Mashriq and I am in the Maghrib, in the West, you see, if his parda, meaning his parda, his clothes or chadar falls down, I will cover him, you see. And then he says, मुझे एक दफ्तर दिया गया है हद निगाह तक कि उसमें मेरे मुरीदों के नाम थे क़यामत तक. He said, I saw daftar, meaning big piece of paper, very, up to my eyes could reach, having the name of my followers up to the day of judgment. और मुझसे फरमाया गया, and it was said to me, वहब तुम ला क्या, ये सब हमने तुम्हें दे डाले, meaning we have all given them to you. You see, in the book Bahjatul Asrar, you see. So meaning he's protecting all these murids, even when they're alive. After the death of the Qadir Jilani will be protecting them, and Allah has given them, all of them, to him, you see. You see, and he's... You see, so these are the fairy tales that Abdul Qadir Jilani has such powers, he can protect his followers. And likewise in the book Hadayt Bakhshish, which I've mentioned in previous lecture, they're saying that Abdul Qadir Jilani has the power of Kun Fayakun, and the earth is in his authority. You see in volume 1, page 38. Volume 1, page 38, you see, it is written, the ذي تصرف بي مازون بي مختار بي كار عالم كمدبر بي عبد القادر, meaning he possesses tasarruf, meaning disposition of matters. He's mazun, given permission. He's also mukhtar, he has the choice, meaning he's also the administrator, you see, mudabbir, of the universe. Alam ka mudabbir, Abdul Qadir. So for them, he is the one administrating the universe Allah has given. He's the one deciding you're going to have a child, you're going to have a job, you're going to have health. All of this is in the hand of Abdul Qadir Jilani. In Hadak Bakhshish of Ahmad Raza Khan Brelwi. Likewise, it is written in volume 2, page 10. It is written, page 10, Teri Jagir Meshar Ta Maghrib, meaning in your ownership is the east and the west. And on page 12 of volume 2, it is written, Ahad se Ahmad or Ahmad se tujhko kun aur sab kun mumkin hasil hai ya ghaus. Meaning from Ahad, from Allah, meaning Ahad is Allah, to Ahmad. Ahmad is the Prophet ﷺ. And from Ahmad to you, kun and every kun possible is granted, meaning you have the power of kun fayakun. You see, you say something be and it becomes. You see, that when Allah sends the Quran, I say to something kun and it happens straight away. It's the same, likewise Abdul Qadir Jilani, he says to something be and it is. And it is really shocking to see, such powers attribute, what they attribute. But many other Sufis, they attribute this to other Sufis as well, that they also have the power of kun fayakun. And they also administrate the universe and the world. So at the end, we don't know who's among them has this control and who's using it and who's deciding it. But it's full of contradiction and stories. So inshallah, now we're going to refute this concept because it is very important to refute such a concept, you see. And inshallah, I've brought here the Tafsir Jalalain written by Suyuti and his teacher Al-Mahalli, and it's translated by Aisha Bilay on page 287 of the English, and she's a Sufi, Al-Qawi, you see. So I like to quote from their own writings, you see, because after quoting their story, I have to, for the layman who watch, I like to give some evidences to refute their falsehood, you see. Because I don't like just to quote their fairy tales, so people say, oh, it might be true. So we have to, inshallah, quote a few stuff. It is so ridiculous. You see, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you see, if the turning away is hard on you, then if you can go down, a tunnel deep in the earth, or climb up a ladder into heaven and bring them a sign, if Allah do it, meaning, if Allah had will, He would have gathered them all up on guidance. See, in Arabic it is, وَإِنْ كَانَ كَبُرَ عَلَيْكَ إِعْرَاضُهُمْ فَإِنِ اسْتَطَعْتَ أَنْ تَبْتَغِي نَفَقًا فِي الْأَرْضِ أَوْ سُلَّمًا فِي السَّمَاءِ فَتَأْتِيَهُمْ بِآيَةٍ وَلَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ لَجَمَعَهُمْ عَلَى الْهُدَى فَلَا تَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الْجَاهِلِينَ. Meaning, it is said in Jalalain, that because the Prophet was affected, you see, he was by the turning away for Islam, Allah said, if you can go down and make a tunnel, you see. So As-Suyuti explained this, if the turning away, meaning from Islam, is hard on you because you are eager for them to become Muslim, then if you can go down a tunnel deep into the earth or climb up a ladder in the heaven and bring them a sign, which they ask for, the implied meaning, this is the explanation of Suyuti, is that you will not be able to do that, so be patient. And in Arabic, it's written, Al-Mana innaka la tastati'u thalik, fasbir hatta yahkum Allah. So, Suyuti, he's saying, the Prophet ﷺ is not capable of this. This verse shows that the Prophet ﷺ is not capable of Allah saying to him, if you're capable of making a tunnel in the sky, tunnel in the ground, or bringing deep, or climb a ladder to the heaven, you see, do it. Meaning, you cannot do it, you see. So this is the meaning of this verse, and this is not the meaning told by Suyuti, but all other scholars, you see. Nasafi al-Hanafi, they famously read the Hanafi, his tafsir al-Nasafi. He said, وَالْمَعْنَى إِنَّكَ لَا تَسْتَطِيعُ ذَلِكَ, meaning, you cannot do this, you see. وَالْمُرَادْ بِيَانُ حِرْسِهِ عَلَى إِسْلَامِ قَوْمِهِ. And the aim of this verse is to show, you see, and what is intended is to show his desire for his people to embrace Islam. وأنه لو استطاع أن يأتيهم بآية من تحت الأرض أو من فوق السماء لأتى بها رجاء إيمانهم. You see, and Nasafi wrote, and if he was able to bring an ayat from below the earth or above the sky, he would bring such, hoping for them to accept faith. You see, so the Prophet does not have this power, kun fayakun, and to bring whatever he wants. So what about Abdul Qadir Jilani? You see, if the Prophet Allah said to him, if you have the power to do this, then do it. Meaning, you do not have this power, so be patient. Allah guides whoever He wills. But for them, Abdul Qadir Jilani just say kun fayakun. He administrates the world, He regulates the world. When you invoke Him for help, He's the one coming in, relieve your help. You pray 11, after praying, you walk 11 steps towards Him, and you say, Ya Ghaus, Aghisni, Ya Ghaus, Amdidni. You see, for them, Ghaus is capable, Abdul Qadir Jilani, Na'udhu Billah, they call him Al-Ghaus, he's capable of this. And Nasafi says, Suyuti says, the Prophet, you see, even in English translation, you see, they cannot, Brelwis cannot refute the translation of their own Aisha Bila, who is a Shazili Sufi. The blind meaning is that you will not be able to do that. So be patient until Allah judges. You see. So this is the translation of Suyuti. The Brelwi sell this book, Tafsir Jalalain, you see. So for them, it is a reliable translation. Nasafi said the same. Al-Barailwi said the same. وَالْمَقْسُودْ بِيَانَ حِرْسِهِ الْبَالِغَ عَلَى إِسْلَامِ قَوْمِهِ. And what is desired is to show his extreme desire for his people to embrace Islam. You see, the Prophet was very eager for his people to become Muslim. And he would be sad, and Allah relieved him. Don't be sad. Allah guides whoever He wills. If you cannot bring the signs these people ask, you see. Just be patient. And you see, وَأَنَّهُ لَوْ قَدَرَ أَن يَأْتِيَهُمْ بِآيَةٍ مِنْ تَحْتِ الْأَرْضِ أَوْ مِنْ فَوْقِ السَّمَاءِ لَأَتَى بِهَا رَجَاءَ إِيمَانِهِمْ. And if he, meaning the Prophet ﷺ, was able to bring an ayah from below the earth or above the sky, he would bring such, hoping for them to accept the faith. You see, this is the scholar, they say the Prophet does not have the capacity to bring the miracles. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can bring them. This is why the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, I've explained in my book, the Fatawa, regarding the Ghaus Qub Abdal and Autad. It's a book of Ibn Taymiyyah, edited by Sheikh Uzair Shams. At the end, in an appendix, you see, I've quoted many scholars of even Hanafi and others that explain that the karamat is the author of this karamat is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He brings this miracle according to His will, you see. For instance, in this, when Musa alayhi salam went to in Surah Taha from verse 17 to 23, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked Musa, وَمَا تِلْكَ بِيَمِينِكَ يَا مُوسَى قَالَ هِيَ عَصَايَ أَتَوَكَّلُ عَلَيْهَا وَأَهُشُّ بِهَا عَلَى غَنَمِي وَلِيَ فِيهَا مَعَارِبُ أُخْرَى قال ألقيها يا موسى فألقاها فإذا هي حية تسعى قال خذها ولا تخف سنعيدها سيرتها الأولى. So you see, and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked to Musa alayhi salam, and what is in your right hand, O Musa? He said, this is my stick whereupon I lean, and wherewith I beat down branches for my sheep, and wherein I find other uses. Allah said, cast it down, O Musa. He cast it down, and behold, it was a snake moving quickly. Allah said, grasp it and fear not, we shall return it to its former state. Meaning, Allah said to Musa ﷺ, لا تخف, do not fear. سَنُعِيدُهَا, we will return it to its first state. So, changing the stick into a stake is not the action of Musa alayhi salam, it is the action of Allah. So this is why Allah said to him, do not fear, we will return him. And likewise, when Pharaoh was following Musa alayhi salam and his people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Baqarah verse 50, وَإِذْ فَرَقْنَا بِكُمُ الْبَحْرَ وَأَنْجَيْنَاكُمْ وَأَغْرَقْنَا آلَ فِرْعَوْنَ وَأَنْتُمْ تَنْظُرُونَ. And remember when we separated the sea for you and saved you, and drawn Pharaoh's people, you were looking at. You see, so this action, Musa alayhi salam was only waiting there, and it happened, Allah made it happen at the hand of His Prophet, you see. And likewise for Ibrahim alayhi salam, Allah said, قُلْنَا يَا نَارُ كُونِي بَرْدًا وَسَلَامًا عَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ. We said, O fire, be you coolness and safety for Ibrahim. It is in Surah Anbiya verse 69. So Prophet Ibrahim not burning into fire, it is by Allah changing the fire, you see. And likewise Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, you see, the intimate friend of Allah, he said in Surah Al-Baqarah verse 260, وَإِذْ قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ رَبِّ أَرِنِي كَيْفَ تُحْيِي الْمَوْتَى قَالَ أَوْلَمْ تُؤْمِنْ قَالَ بَلَى وَلَكِنْ لِيَطْمَئِنَّ قَلْبِي قَالَ فَخُذْ أَرْبَعَةً مِنَ الطَّيْرِ فَصُرْهُنَّ إِلَيْكَ ثُمَّ جَعَلَ عَلَى كُلِّ جَبَلٍ مِنْهُنَّ جُزْءًا ثُمَّ ادْعُهُنَّ يَأْتِيَنَّكَ سَعْيًا وَاعْلَمْ أَنَّ اللَّهَ عَزِيزٌ حَكِيمٌ. And remember when Ibrahim said, Oh my Lord, show me how you give life to death. Allah said, do you not believe? He said, yes, I believe, but to be stronger in faith. He asked, take 4 birds and cause them to incline towards you, and then put a portion of them on every hill and call them. They will come to you in haste, and know that Allah is Almighty, All-Wise. Meaning, Ibrahim a.s. did not have the power to bring life to death. And he wanted to see this miracle. So when Prophet Isa and others, this miracle happened at his hand, there were actions of Allah happening at his hand in order to show his sidq, his trustfulness, you see. Likewise, the Prophet he says, inshallah, I mean, there are many other examples, but I will quote a few. But just to know the state of the, Abdul Al-Jilani, to whom they attribute this saying, he himself said in Ghunya Talibin, which has been translated into English by Muhtar Holland, who is a Sufi, he said this belief that the human beings administer the world is the belief of the Shia. He's saying the Mufawwida, meaning when he's mentioning in the first volume the misguided sect, he said the Mufawwida, the Mufawwidiyya, you see, the delegationist. They take their name from the fact that according to their doctrine, Allah has delegated fawwada, the management of the creation, to the Imams. You see, Allah has delegated the management of the creation to the Imam. And that Allah exalted is He actually endowed the Prophet with the power to create and manage the universe, while Allah Himself played no part in all this creation. You see, they make the same claim on behalf of Ali. You see, so they said this Shia, they claim that Allah gave the Prophet the power to create and manage the universe. So for Abdul Qadir Jilani, to whom they attribute all these absurdities, fairy tales and shirkiya stories, in his own book, you see, it's not Shatnufi's book, Bahjatul Asr, in his own book, he's saying this is the belief of the Shia, the Mufawwidiyya sect. They believe that Allah, the management of the universe has been given, the Shia believe, to the Prophet and to Ali. So this is the belief of the Shia. And then in this book, I will refer the reader to it, because there's many quotes of the scholars, you see, like Mullah al-Qari and others, Abu Hamid Ghazali, you see, they explain that mu'jiza comes from the verb ajz, meaning that human beings are incapable of doing it, you see. Mullah al-Qari is saying the mu'jiza comes from the word ajz, incapacity, which is contrary to qudra, capacity, power, and in reality the mu'jiz, author of action, which is ajz in others, is Allah, meaning the author of the mu'jiza is Allah. Likewise, Abu Hamid Ghazali, he's saying in his book Ihya Ulumuddin, the way in which the mu'jiza attests the truthfulness of the messengers is that everything that the creatures are incapable of producing cannot be but by the action of Allah, fi'l. You see, like Kamaluddin ibn Himam, he says, when this is among the actions that creatures are incapable of producing, this cannot but be the action of Allah. Lam takun illa fi'lan lillah. You see, and this is said by many other scholars, even in the book Shifa of Qadir Iyad, it is said, you see such miracles, there are actions of, the Brelwis can read them, they sell this book as well, it is translated by Shabile. When speaking about the miracles, they say, he's saying that these are actions done by Allah, and that the human beings are not capable of doing. So this is just to show that the reality of miracles, you see. And how could the Prophet have such powers? You attribute this to some of the prophets. They faced hunger, some of them faced illness, some of them were killed and martyred, you see. Like Prophet Ayub. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَيُّوبَ إِذْ نَادَى رَبَّهُ أَنِّي مَسَّنِيَ الضُّرُّ وَأَنْتَ أَرْحَمُ الرَّاحِمِينَ. You see, and remember Ayub when he cried to his Lord, verily distress has seized me, and you are the most merciful of all those who show mercy. Likewise, Musa alayhi salam said, فَسَقَى لَهُمَا ثُمَّ تَوَلَّى إِلَى ذِلٍّ فَقَالَ رَبِّ إِنِّي لِمَا أَنزَلْتَ إِلَيَّ مِنْ خَيْرٍ فَقِيرٍ. And when Musa watered their flocks for them, then he turned back in shame and said, "O my Lord, truly I am in need of whatever good that you bestow on me." So Prophet Musa, he is showing he is in need of Allah. And Yaqub alayhi salam, he said, وَتَوَلَّى عَنْهُمْ وَقَالَ يَا أَسَفَ عَلَى يُوسُفَ وَأَبْيَضَتْ عَيْنَاهُ مِنَ الْحَزْنِ فَهُوَ كَظِيمٌ. You see, he lost his sight of the sorrow that he was suppressing. So the Prophet said, instead of sorrow, so how can Abdul Qadir Jilani come and give this to you? وَظَنُّونِي إِذْ ذَهَبَ مُغَاضِبًا فَظَنَّ أَن لَّن نَّقْدِرَ عَلَيْهِ فَنَادَى فِي الظُّلُمَاتِ أَن لَّا إِلَٰهَ إِلَّا أَنتَ سُبْحَانَكَ إِنِّي كُنتُ مِنَ الظَّالِمِينَ فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ وَنَجَّيْنَاهُ مِنَ الْغَمِّ وَكَذَٰلِكَ نُنجِي الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَزَكَرِيَّا إِذْ نَادَى رَبَّهُ رَبِّي لَا تَذَرْنِي فَرْدًا وَأَنتَ خَيْرُ الْوَارِثِينَ فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ وَوَهَبْنَا لَهُ يَحْيَىٰ وَأَصْلَحْنَا لَهُ زَوْجَهُ إِنَّهُمْ كَانُوا يُسَارِعُونَ فِي الْخَيْرَاتِ يَدْعُونَنَا رَغَبًا وَرَهَبًا وَكَانُوا لَنَا خَاشِعِينَ. Meaning, remember Dhunnun, when he went off in anger, imagined, Prophet Yunus, when he imagined that we shall not punish him, but he cried when he was through the darkness, meaning when he was in the stomach of the whale, La ilaha illa anta, glorified are you all above the associate, truly I have been among the wrongdoers. You see, so we answered this call and delivered him from the distress. You see, وَنَجَّيْنَاهُ مِنَ الْغَمِّ, we saved him from distress. So how can Abdul Qadir Jilani, protect you from distress and help you from distress, when the prophets of Allah helped them and they invoked Allah's help? I mean, how can anyone of reason who has a sound heart accept these fairy tales in Fatwa Rizviyah and Malfuz and Hadaik Bakshish? I mean, this is what these people, they are so much sick in their minds and blind in the following their elders, and for others as well, the leaders, is big money, it's millions. You see people coming to graves, prostrating to graves, doing tawaf of graves, putting their money in front of the grave, sacrificing animals to them. You see, so when this is, and when then Prophet Zakaria, when he cried to his Lord, "O Lord, leave me not single, that though you are the best of inheritors." So we answered his call, and we bestowed upon him Yahya, and cured his wife for him. Rarely they used to hasten on to do good deeds, and they used to call us with hope and fear, and used to humble themselves before us. So this is the state of the prophets in the Quran. But these people, they do not read the Quran, but rather they read fairy tales from Bahjatul Asrar and other books. So inshallah, I recommend people to read this book of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, in which he totally destroys this concept that there's a horoscope, there's an assembly of sand ruling the world, and these people are managing the universe. Likewise, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Ghafir, in verse 78, وَلَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا رُسُلًا مِنْ قَبْلِكَ مِنْهُمْ مَنْ قَصَصْنَا عَلَيْكَ وَمِنْهُمْ لَمْ نَقْصُصْ عَلَيْكَ وما كان لرسول أن يأتي بآيات إلا بإذن الله فإذا جاء أمر الله قضي بالحق وخسر هنالك المبتلون. And indeed we have sent messengers before you, of some of them who have related to you their stories, and some of them who have not related to you their stories. And it was not given to any messenger that he should bring a sign except by the leave of Allah. You see, وما كان لرسول أن يأتي بآيات إلا بإذن الله. So when comes the command of Allah, the matter will be decided with truth, and the followers of falsehood will then be lost. You see, the relevant part in this one is وَمَا كَانَ لِرَسُولٍ أَن يَأْتِيَ بِآيَاتٍ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. You see, it was not given to any messenger that he should bring a sign except by the leave of Allah. So Allah telling them, you have the power of kun fayakun, you administrate the world, you can do whatever you want, you can give children, you can give health, you can give wealth. This is not in their capacity. You see, they cannot prove any miracle, they cannot bring any sign except by Allah's permission. They do not have this power. Do whatever you want, do distribute according to the world is in your possession and regulate it like you want. Abu Mansur al-Maturidi, who is a well-known Hanafi scholar, and the Hanafi Brelwi, they all follow him. You see, the Maturidian creed. He said in his tafsir, Tawilat Ahl Sunnah, in interpreting this verse, وقوله وما كان لرسول أن يأتي بآية إلا بإذن الله. He said, كأنهم سألوه أن يأتي بآية بعد آية على آية أخرى فقال عند سؤالهم ذلك أي ليس لرسول أن يأتي بالآية على شهوة أو على شهوة السائل. You see, he said, as if كأنهم, you see, as if they asked him to produce an ayat after another ayat. You see, he said like it is like they asked him, bring this verse, bring that this miracle, bring that sign from Allah. So Allah said to their request, it is not given to any messenger that should bring a sign except by the leave of Allah. You see, don't ask him, because it's only Allah who decides what to bring. Meaning, أي ليس لرسول أن يأتي بالآية على شهوته. Meaning, a messenger cannot bring an ayat according to his desire. Or على شهوة السائل, or the desire of the one who requests it. You see, Allah's is meaning for Abu Mansur al-Maturidi, he's telling them that this verse means that the messenger cannot bring an ayat according to his desire. You see, it is not, he cannot bring a miracle according to his will. You see, Prophet Isa cannot resurrect the dead according to his will. He cannot cure the one who is having leprosy according to his will. It is all dependent on Allah's will. You see, he does not have this power of kun fayakun. He does not regulate and administrate the universe. And look what Abu Mansur Maturidi is going to say, like before what Abdul Al-Jilani said. He said, وَهَذِي الْآيَةَ تَدُلُّ عَلَى نَقْضِ قَوْلِ الْبَاطِنِيَّةِ. And this verse shows, you see, refute the sayings of the Batini, meaning the extreme Sufi, the extreme Shias and Sufis, Batinis. You see, Ismaili, Qaramita, some Sufis, they're all Batini, you see. They're all Shias, Ismaili and others. These are the Batinis, you see, the Shias. So this is actually that the human beings, saints, prophets controlling the universe is actually the belief of the Shias, Batinis. And the Sufis have taken this creed from them. You see, Juan Safa, all these people, the secret societies and groups, the Ismailis, the Qaramita. This is where it is all coming, all their beliefs. You see, Wahdatul Wujud, the belief in the Ghaus, Qutb, Abdul, it's all coming from them. And he's saying, and this verse refutes the sayings of the Batini. فَإِنَّهُمْ يَقُولُونَ إِنَّ أَنفُسِ الرَّسُولِ جَوَاهِرَ الرُّوحَانِيَّةِ يَأْتُونَ بِهَا الْآيَةَ حَيْثُ شَاءُوا وَكَيْفَ شَاءُوا. You see, he said, because these people, the Batini, they say the souls of the messenger are spiritual substances, you see, that the souls of the prophet, they are jawahir ruhaniya, they are spiritual substances. And يَأْتُونَ بِهَا الْآيَةِ حَيْثُ شَاءُوا وَكَيْفَ شَاءُوا. And they can bring through them, meaning through these spiritual substances, they can bring these ayat, meaning these miracles, wherever they want and however they want. You see, except for the Batinis, the souls of the Prophet are spiritual substances, and with this spiritual substance they can bring, meaning they have such powers, they can bring however they want, whenever they want, wherever they want. You see. فكان للرسول عندهم بسبب جوار روحنا التي فيهم قدرة إتيان الآيات كيف شاءوا من غير إذن الله تعالى ومن غير سؤال منهم إياه في وقت الإتيان. So he's saying, so according to them, the messengers, because of the spiritual substances in them, have the power to bring this ayat however they want, without the leave of Allah and without them asking Him at the time of their occurrence. So for the Batinis, You see, the Prophet, he just said be and it is. He has the power to bring. He does not need to ask, oh Allah, give me this. Oh Allah, help me. Oh Allah, save me. Oh, for them, he just said be and he's got the power. This is for them, for Maturidi, this is the creed of the Batinis. You see, they have the power to do whenever you want, wherever, without asking Allah, you see. Meaning in such a way, Allah has given you the power and you just regulate it according to your will. Likewise, Al-Barailwi said in his tafsir about this verse, وَمَا كَانَ لِرَسُولٍ أَن يَأْتِيَ بِآيَةٍ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ فَإِنَّ الْمُعْجِزَاتِ عَطَيَّا قَسَمَ بَيْنَهُمْ عَلَى مَا اقْتَضَتْ حِكْمَةُ كَسَائِرِ الْقِسَمِ لَيْسَ لَهُمْ اختيار في إيثار بعضها والاستبداد بإتيان المقترح بها. So he said, indeed the miracles are gifts that he meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala distributed, divided among them. You see, these ayat, final mu'jizat is speaking about the miracles of the prophets. Ataya, there are gifts by Allah, meaning there are things given by Allah that He distributed among them according to His wisdom. You see, it is not according to the wisdom of His servant, of His messengers. You see, they sometimes wanted to guide his uncle, their fathers or their son, but Allah had another wisdom, you see. And by the way, said, لَيْسَ لَهُمْ اخْتِيَارٍ فِي إِثَارِ بَعْضُهَا. They do not have a choice. You see, that's the Prophet Mukhtar Kul, he has the choice. By the way, said that they do not have a choice in preferring some of them or a monopoly in bringing them to the one who requests them. You see, they do not have a power of it, you see. They do not have any choice. Oh, I want this miracle, I want to resurrect the dead. Or I want to cure the leprosy. Or I want this. They do not have a choice in this. Or they do not have a monopoly of it. You see, it's Allah's gifts. He distributes among them however He wills. And sometimes Allah doesn't protect or save them and they get martyred, you see, by Allah's wisdom. They get injured. Some of the Prophet were killed by the Jews, you see. Like Prophet Zakaria and Prophet Yahya. They're hidden in a tree, you see, they ran away from them, you see, and they cut the tree into two, cutting these prophets into two parts. So this is the reality. And likewise, Abu Sud al-Hanafi, he said the same. فَإِنَّ الْمُعْجِزَةَ لَا تَشُبْ فُنُونِهَا عَطَيَّ مِنَ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى قَسَمَ بَيْنَهُمْ حسب ما اقتضت مشيئته المبني على الحكم البالغة كسائر القسم ليس لهم اختيار في إيثار بعضه والاستبداد بإتيان المقترح بها. And Al-Aluzi al-Hanafi Nizuruh al-Mani, he quoted the same quote, exactly word for word, and he said, indeed the miracles, you see, these are great Hanafi scholars, indeed the miracles with the different categories, you see, فَإِنَّ الْمُعْجِزَةَ لَا تَشُبْ فُنُونِهَا, with all the different categories are gifts from Allah that He distributes, divide among them according to His desire, you see, based on infinite wisdom, like all other portions. They do not have a choice in preferring some of them or a monopoly in bringing them to the one who requests them. So, I mean, this is clear, all these verses and saying. Likewise, the Prophet ﷺ said in Surah Al-Jinn, قُلْ إِنِّي لَا أَمْلِكُ لَكُمْ ضَرًّا وَلَا رَشَدًا قُلْ إِنِّي لَنْ يُجِيرَنِي مِنَ اللَّهِ أَحَدٌ وَلَنْ أَجِدَ مِنْ دُونِهِ مُلْتَحَدًا إِلَّا بَلَاغًا مِنَ اللَّهِ وَرِسَالَاتِهِ. You see, this is in Tafsir Jalalain. I mean, I like to read it from the original book just to show to the Sufi. You see, it's not my own translation. Page 1254. You see, they're selling these books. They're reliable for them. So it's verse 21 to say, I possess no power to do you harm, meaning make you err, or to guide you right, and so do you good. You see, here the Prophet ﷺ, Allah orders him to say, I possess no power to do you harm or guide you right. Meaning, guiding people, it is not in your capacity, you see. And they're saying, Abdul Al-Jilani, all the hearts of the people are in his hand, he can turn them, he can towards him or not. You see. Na'udhu billah. Say, no one can protect me, meaning from the punishment of Allah. I will never find any refuge apart from Him, meaning except in Him. Only in transmitting from Allah and His messages. And now Suyuti explained this verse, I can only convey the message of Allah to you from Him. This stresses His inability to do more. You see, this is not my translation. This is your own Sufi translation, this stresses his inability to do more. In Arabic, you see, اعتراض لتأكيد نفي استطاعته. You see, he's denying his capacity of doing it. You see. أي لا أملك لكم إلا بلاغ البلاغ إليكم. You see. So this is also his explanation. You see. That this stresses نفي استطاعته, his capacity, his istita'a. You see, even in Urdu it is used istita'at. It denies his, it stresses upon the negation of his capacity, of his inability to do more. So this is their own, this is their own translated tafsir. This is their own. So this is their own explanation of Allah's speech. You see, that this stresses his inability to do more. The Prophet's capacity is only to convey the message. And likewise, in Sahih Muslim, it is narrated in the chapter Kitab al-Fitan wa Shara' Sa'a, the Ummah will be destroyed by killing each other, that the Prophet ﷺ made 3 vocations about the Ummah, and the first 2 were answered, but the third one was not. And he said, and I beg my Lord that there should be no bloodshed among the people of my community, but he did not grant it. Meaning, the Prophet ﷺ make this invocation to Allah. The first 2 that they were answered, you see, I asked my Lord 3 things, and he granted me 2, but he withheld 1. I beg my Lord that my ummah should not be destroyed because of famine, and he granted me this. I beg my Lord that my ummah should not be destroyed by drowning, deluge, and he granted me this. And I beg my Lord that there should be no bloodshed among the people of my ummah, but he did not grant it. You see, so the Prophet's invoking some of them, most of the invocations are answered, but some of them are not based on Allah's wisdom, you see. Likewise, it is mentioned in the 2 Sahih, Bukhari and Muslim, that the Prophet used to invoke against some disbelievers, and Allah revealed the verse, لَيْسَ لَكَ مِنَ الْأَمْرِ شَيْءٌ أَوْ يَتُوبَ عَلَيْهِمْ أَوْ يُعَذِّبَهُمْ فَإِنَّهُمْ ظَالِمُونَ. Not for you, meaning O Muhammad ﷺ, but for Allah is the decision, whether he turns in mercy to pardon them or punishes them. Very they are zalimun, you see. And this is narrated in Sahih Bukhari, Salim's father, that he heard Allah's messenger raising his head from the bowing the last rakah of Fajr prayer and saying, oh Allah, curse such and such person, such and such person. After saying, Sami Allahu liman hamida, Allah hears him who sends his praise. And then Allah revealed, not for you the decision, you see, whether he turns into mercy. And there are many other similar ahadith in the 2 Sahih. And likewise in the 2 Sahih, you see Ibn al-Musab reported from his father, when the death approached Abu Talib, Allah's Messenger came to him and found Abdul ibn Abi Umayyah and Abu Jahl in his company. The Prophet said, oh uncle, there is no true God except Allah, a word which will be enable me to plead for you with him. And the other 2, meaning Abdullah ibn Abi Umayyah and Abu Jahl, they said, would you forsake the religion of your father Abdul Muttalib? The Prophet repeated the request, and the 2 of them also repeated their question. The final word of Abu Talib was about being on the religion of Abdul Muttalib, and he refused to say La ilaha illallah. The Prophet himself, but I shall continue to pray for forgiveness as long as I'm not prohibited to do so. And first Allah revealed the verse. It was then that Allah revealed, it is not proper for Prophet and those who believe to ask forgiveness for the mushrikeen, even though they be of kin. And Allah also revealed concerning Abu Talib, verily you, meaning Muhammad sallallahu guide not whom you like, but Allah guides whom He wills. And He knows best those who are the guided ones. إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ وَهُوَ أَعْلَمُ بِالْمُهْتَدِينَ. So how can these people claim such miracles for saints and attribute such power to the Ghaus, that He has kun fayakun, that He controlled the hearts of the people and make so much fairy tales that all the saints, they accepted Him as being the leader of saints. He was there on the night of Mi'raj. He was drinking the milk of Aisha, na'udhu billah. and he had all these powers, how can the human being accept such, fairy tales, such shirkiya stories, and all others? So now, inshallah, in the second part, we will speak about the knowledge of the unseen, and we will expose, inshallah, in the second part of this lecture, inshallah, the shocking reality of the Brelwi sect, you see. Not only they claim Abdul Qadir Jilani is present everywhere, he's watching Lawh Mahfuz constantly, but they say also the Sufi Sheikh, he's present in when the husband and wife are having their private, intimate relations, the wali is there and watching. And in the Malfuz Sharif, I've quoted it before as well, the translator said there's no harm for a wali to spiritually be witness of such events. There's no harm. And then they said Abdul Qadir, nothing is hidden to him in the heaven and the sky. But unfortunately, in his own Fatwa Rizviyah, Ahmad Raza Khan's going to say, woman made a mistake. He gave a he said to women not to increase their mahar, the dowry, and then one of them stood in the khutbah and said, but Allah did not limit it, and then he made ruju of it and said, oh, these women are more faqih than you. And likewise, in his own Fatwa Rizviyah, he said about the topic of mafqud al-khabar, you see, the one whose husband has disappeared, what shall he do? For the Hanafis, he should work like 70, 80 years. But for the Malikis, he should wait 4 years. And Ahmad Raza Khan said in his Fatwa Rizviyah, oh, but this 4 years is only based on the taqlid of Umar, because it's Umar's speech, else they don't have any hadith. And they're saying it was Umar's opinion before, but after Ali and Ibn Masud, radiallahu anhum, they gave him, they told him the fatwa that she should wait until, you see, whole lifespan, and then Umar made ruju'. Meaning he used to give this order, then he changed. So at the same time, you're saying Abdul Qadir Jilani knows the unseen, the preserved tablets, which has the detail of everything that is to happen on Judgment Day. Same time, you're saying Umar, na'udhu billah, he gave a fatwa on the minbar, and then a woman objected, and then he took it back. And on the mafqud al-khabar, the one whose husband has disappeared, he first used to give a fatwa on which the Maliki school of thought is based, but then he changed his opinion. So meaning he didn't have the knowledge of the unseen, but Abdul Qadir Jilani has. Likewise, I have with me the two tafsir, the English translation of tafsir Nur al-Irfan of Ahmad al-Gujarati, which has shocking quotes. It is saying that Prophet Ibrahim ﷺ did not recognize the angels that came to him in human form. That's why he brought them food. And after he came to realize they were angels. Prophet Sulaiman and Dawood, when people came to him about a dispute regarding sheep, they're saying that Prophet Dawood's ijtihad was mistaken and Prophet Sulaiman's ijtihad was right. So the prophets, they can make mistakes in ijtihad. But Abdul Qadir Jilani, he knows the preserved tablets. And likewise, he's saying in Tafsir Khazain al-Irfan of Muradabadi that Prophet Nuh ﷺ was not aware that his son was a hypocrite, and Prophet Musa was not aware of the Khidr's action. The knowledge al-Hala given to Khidr was not given to Musa, and the knowledge given to Musa ﷺ was not given to Khidr. You see, so they acknowledge in these books, inshallah, that we'll quote in the second part of this lecture. They acknowledge that the prophets did not have the knowledge of the Lawh Mahfuz, meaning they made ijtihad, mistakes in ijtihad, they did not recognize the angel, they did not know the nifaq of their sons. Umar, the Sahaba, he made two fatwa and he took them back. But at the same time, Abdul Qadir Jilani knows Lawh Mahfuz, the awliya, nothing is hidden in the heavens and earth to them. Even, in the Tafsir Nur al-Irfan, it is written in Surah Al-Fath, they said the Sahaba, when the Sahaba gave pledge to the Prophet Bayat Ridwan, the Sahaba, when they heard that Osman a.s. had died, because rumors spread that he'd been killed by the people of Mecca when he went to speak to them and seek permission for the Prophet to do Umrah. So rumors spread they killed Osman, and that's why the Prophet took the pledge under the tree and all the Sahaba gave bay'ah. And they said when the Sahaba heard this, they all became angry, and this is why the Prophet asked them. So it means all the Sahaba, thousands of them being there, they gave bay'ah to avenge Osman. Well, hearing rumors he's been killed, meaning they didn't know he was alive. So the best of the Sahaba, those Allah praised in the Quran, you write in your tafsir, the dead basically became angry hearing these news, and they gave bay'ah, meaning they didn't know the reality. And at the same time, Abdul Qadir Jilani knows the unseen. So either, I mean, this is why it shows their religion, it is full of contradiction. Allah said, if the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, came from other than Allah, you would find it in lots of contradictions. And this is why their religion, you find so many contradictions in it. You find so many mistakes in it. You see, they attribute powers of total, knowledge of everything to Abdul Qadir Jilani, and then they deny such knowledge to Prophet Musa did not know this. Prophet Dawood erred in ijtihad. Prophet Noah did not know this. Prophet Ibrahim, the best of the creation, the Ulul Azm, the greater prophet, they did not know such matters. But Abdul Qadir Jilani, he watches constantly Lawh Mahfuz. He has kun fayakun. Now the billah, so we seek Allah's refuge from such fairy tales, and we ask the Brelwi layman as well to reflect upon these fairy tales of Ahmad Raza Khan and the tafsir of Abu Mansur Maturidi al-Nasafi and the tafsir of other scholars regarding, you see, the Prophet's inability to bring miracles on his own, and the quotes of Abdul Qadir Jilani, the ones you call Ghaus Azam. It's been translated into English by your own Sufi Muhtar Holland, that this is the creed of the Shia, that the control of the universe has been given to the Prophet and to the Imams or to Ali. So it is, and Abu Mansur Maturidi said this is the creed of the Batinis, meaning the Shias, that the prophets, because of the spiritual substance, can bring miracles on their own, however they want. And the prophets were martyred, they were killed, they faced difficulties, Sahaba were martyred, scholars were martyred. You see, they did not have, the Tabi'in did not have these powers. But at the same time, you said they have the power, but how can then you explain the afflictions of the Muslim in Palestine, in Syria, in other places of the world, in Burma? If the Ghaus Qutb Abdul has the power and he doesn't do them, does it mean he's cruel? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is wise, he wants to test people, but the Ghaus, he's mukallaf, he's bound to the Sharia to help people if he has the capacity to do so, you see. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he lets evil happening to test people and see how they will behave in these tests and trials. But the Ghaus, if he has the capacity and he doesn't help it, it makes no sense. Likewise, the prophets choosing for running away and then being martyred by the Jews, Zakaria and Yahya, and while they have this power, kun fayakun, they even said, some Sufis, that they have the power to destroy all the world in 1 second, you see, the Sufis, but they don't use it. And people asked him why they don't use it. They said, oh, because they're following the Sahaba who only fought with the hands. But what do you mean? They have this power, but just to exalt the Sahaba and the Prophet, they fight with their hands. Okay. But then why they get martyred? Well, does it make sense? You have a power, but you decide to get martyred, and you decide all your companions are in, you will be martyred and killed, and you have this power and you don't use it. And Allah has given you power to say whatever you want, you regulate the universe. Does it make any sense? So their religion is full of contradictions, of fairy tales. It's copycat, it's a photocopy of the creed of the Shia in each point, except that they say the Imam has control of each atom of the universe. Al-Khomeini in his book Hukma Islamiyah. And they say, no, the Ghaus Abdul Qadir Jilani, he's got control of the universe. How can, people fall so much down and establish so much fairy tales and pray this Salah Ghausiya towards Baghdad 11 steps, ask Abdul Qadir Jilani for help, or the prophets, they ask Allah and Allah relieve them from distress, you see. So we ask Allah to save and protect all of us, to keep us on the right path, and to guide the laymen, protect them, and also to guide our Brelwi brothers who are not aware of the conspiracy of their elders, and may Allah guide them outside the blind following of their elders. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد آمين